Welcome back to Awaken Your Authentic Self. I'm your host, Jessica Rooks, and this is the space where soul-led seekers, empaths, and truth tellers come to remember who they really are and to live from that place unapologetically. Today's conversation is for you if you've ever felt torn between your spiritual path and your desire for real-world success. Because my guest is living proof that you do not have to choose. He's a spiritual entrepreneur, a human behavior expert, a philanthropist, and someone who built his first $100 million by his early 30s, while deeply committed to personal growth, service, and truth. He was born with a severe deformity, spent years in physical pain, served 6 years in one of Israel's elite submarine units, traveled the Far East on $6 a day, and then went on to build global companies, create inventions and patents, help people off drugs, rehabilitate criminals, and transform thousands of families and businesses around the world. His mission now? To give simple, spiritual, yet practical answers to life's most difficult questions about money, love, purpose, and what true success really is. So if you are ready to stop apologizing for wanting both deep spiritual fulfillment and extraordinary material success, settle in. This conversation might challenge some of your deepest beliefs, and it might just set you free. Meir, it is an honor to have you here and Awaken Your Authentic Self. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for this amazing introduction.
Well, thank you for having such an amazing life. It makes it easy to give you such a great introduction.
Thank you.
Well, let's dive in. I feel like I've been waiting for this for months. Meir, your life began with a physical deformity, continued through years of pain in elite submarines, and then exploded into massive financial success very young. When you look back now, what was the inner shift that turned you from surviving against all odds into consciously creating a $100 million life? And how can someone listening who feels very far from that begin that same inner shift today?
Okay. So you asked me about how to describe Encyclopedia Britannica in 3 seconds.
You got more than 3 seconds.
But let's do it. Okay, so I think that the first thing is, in order to be successful, in order to overcome any pain, any problem, the first thing you need to realize is that you never should do what you can, but you should do what's needed. Most people tell you, look, I'll do what I can. I'll do my best.
Right.
This is all nonsense. It's just an excuse not to do what is needed. So the first thing you need to realize that you need to do what is needed. And in the process of doing it, you need to be willing to win and lose with the same level of enthusiasm.
I love that.
You're not doing it to win. You're not doing it to lose. You're doing it because it's a game, and you decided that you're going to bring a result, and you're going to bring the result, whatever the cost is. If it's painful, it's painful. If it's pleasurable, it's pleasurable. If it's late, it's late. If you need to not eat for 3 days, then you don't eat for 3 days. If you need to not sleep for a week, then you don't sleep for a week. If the result requires you to do something, you go ahead and do it regardless of the price.
That's that's deep, but that makes such perfect sense because I guess anything worth having, right?
Yeah, anything worth having, you have to fight for. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. So the first thing is you need to really. Everyone says, "I want to be successful," and I tell them, "Okay, fine. So let's meet at 2 a.m." And they say, "No, I'm sleeping." You don't want to be successful. You want to sleep. Because if you really love something, you will want to do things for it.
Right.
If you love your wife, you want to give her things. You want to do things for her. If you love your kids, you want to do things for them. The indication that you love something, you want to do things for them. So if you love the end result of being a billionaire, you need to be willing to do the things that will bring about the end result, which basically lead me to the next law that I'm operating on. I'm always starting with what's the end result that I want to achieve. I'm defining very clearly the end result, not the goal, not the purpose, but something tangible that I can measure, a product, an end result, something that has value for someone else. Something that has value for someone else. Something that someone else need, not me.
Right.
So when I define this end result, and I know, for example, this is the mountain that I want to achieve, the next thing that will happen, the purpose will be very clear. I will know exactly what I need to do. And the next thing that no one does is you need to make yourself fall in love with what you need to do. You make yourself fall in love with that. If I'm opening and closing doors, I make myself fall in love with opening and closing doors. And I'll give you an example.
Please. Yes. Thank you.
A story that really happened. I was just about to finish the Israeli army, and I was a diver, a very rough job. And anyway, I decided, okay, good, I'm going to become a civilian, and I was starting to look for a job. And I found this very, very old guy that could not take care of himself, and the family was looking for someone to take care of him. Mm-hmm. So I started to take care of this old guy, and he couldn't talk, and he was very upset, and I decided I'm going to love everything, like everything I need to do. My end result was that he will get back in communication with the world. Mm-hmm. I wanted him to be back in communication because you are as alive as you communicate. Mm-hmm. So I started, obviously I needed to clean him up. So when he did his things, I needed to clean up. I fell in love. It was not stinking for me. It was the best thing that ever happened to me during the day. I decided that the house needs to get an upgrade. I started to upgrade the house, clean, paint, fix things. I did things that was nothing to do with my job description, but had everything to do with the end result. Mm-hmm. And I've done it, and was like, I loved every second. And when they told me, you need to work 8 hours, I was, no, I'm going to work 20 hours. I'm going to sleep there. And when he's sleeping, I would sleep. And otherwise, I'm there. But they paid me for 8 hours. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to bring the end results. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know at the time, but I knew that the family is well off, but I didn't know how much. But the family was really, really, really well off, like really good. And he was the head of the family at that time, but he liked to stay in this old, small house, like really, not like you wouldn't say that he's rich.
Right.
And his son started to see what I'm doing, and he came to me and he says, what are you doing? And I said, what do you mean what I'm doing? I'm trying to achieve a specific end result, and for that I need the specific things, and I make myself fall in love with every second. There's nothing that gives me more pleasure than what I'm doing. He looked at that, and he came to me after about, 3, 4, 5 months, and he told me, look, I want you to run one of my factories. I said, what? He says, I want you to run one of my factories. I said, I'm not going to run any of your factories. I'm running your father.
Right.
I'm taking care of him. And he said, but there is a lot of money. I'll pay you a lot of money. I said, okay, I understand. But I'm not leaving him before I achieve my end result. He needs to be back in communication with the world.
Right.
And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, and I fixed the environment, and I helped him, and I spoke to him, and I chat with him, and I talk to him, and I've done 1,000,001 drills with him. And of course, he started to talk.
Wow.
Yeah, he recovered totally. And his son him and his son couldn't stop giving me things and try. I didn't ask for money. I was just doing what I wanted to. I didn't do my job. I was doing the things that need to be done to get the end result. And that's what people don't do.
You made yourself passionate about it.
Yeah, I make myself fall in love with the action. So if the action was to fix the house, I did. If the action was to clean him, I did. If the action was to paint the house, I did. If the action was to make him food, that I investigate with his family what he used to like, and I learn how to make the food. And every single thing that needed in order to achieve this thing. And that's what people don't do.
You're absolutely
right.
So
they cannot get the end result. So they need to be told what to be done. But if you know the end result, you don't need to be told what needs to be done. And the only thing that will be missing once you realize that this is the end result and you know what needs to be done is to fall in love with the actions, regardless of what those actions are.
That's beautiful. That's a very beautiful story. I mean, you can't even put a dollar amount on something like that. Like you said, it's that must have had your spirit singing afterwards when you heard him communicating, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really the feeling of I love those actions, like when I was falling in love at the age of 16. I was as excited, not less.
Right.
Because I realized you make yourself love. Love is not an accident of birth or some chemical reaction. Actually, I define love as the urge to share the same space for no reason at all. If there is a reason, then you are in a business deal. Love, I did it because this was needed, not because I wanted to get something. I wanted to give something. I wanted to give him life.
Right.
I didn't care if he will pay me or not. I didn't care that I was paid for 8 hours per day. I didn't care about that it could be considered disgusting by someone. I didn't care. I make myself fall in love. And the question is, can the listeners that actually want to be successful, can you actually define the end result? And it sounds, everyone would say yes, but let's do an exercise. What would you say the end result of a teacher is?
The end result for a teacher would be to have a student who learns and is successful in life.
That's very good. The end result of a teacher, by the way, most of the people will not give the very smart answer that you gave, but the end result of the teacher is student who duplicated the material taught and using it correctly to improve their life and the life of others, bringing about an improved society.
Absolutely
now, if
right.
the teacher knows that is her end result, it means that the student, if he has any problem, has nothing to do with the issue, because it's in the end result, there's nothing to do with what's the condition of the student. So if the teacher say, well, the student have learning disabilities, we know that the teacher do not understand the end result, because learning disabilities is part of the deal. That's why you're teaching, because he's unable to learn alone.
You find a creative way to teach, exactly, because everyone has a capability of learning. It's a matter of finding out a child's learning style.
Exactly. Actually, it's not a learning style. It's actually finding the real reason why. Mm. It's not that each child have a different reason. This is, when you do that, how do you know that you're dealing with truth? Because it applies to everything and everyone.
Right.
So if I need to find something specifically for you and specifically for him and specifically for someone else, it means I don't know the basic reason why. And while it would be good that I'm doing it, it's better than nothing, it's not the actual handling. The actual handling will be, this is the principles why a person cannot learn. And if you know that, he will learn. I'll give you an example, again, a true story. I was born in a very, very small town in the north of Israel, in a very run-down town because it was on the border. It was bombed a lot, every night actually, for years. Missiles, every night, missiles for years. Terrorists coming to the house and killing people, like terrible.
Wow.
Anyway, this town is very run-down, and the education there is very bad. And one of the worst schools in the country is in this town. So many years later, when I became successful, etc., I came back to the town and I went to that school and I went to the headmaster, which was a friend of mine from old days. And I told him, look, we can handle those children. We can make them all successful. And he told me, you're talking nonsense. The passing standard here is 5%. 5% that will get above 55%
Wow.
in the exams, and all the rest are failing. And I said, why do they fail? He said, because the fathers are in jail, the mothers are working in the oldest job in the world, they're druggies, and that's why they're failing. I said, look, when you give me a reason for a problem that you can do nothing about, it's not the actual reason, it's an excuse. Because if I'll take all the fathers from jail right now, will these guys become smart? He said no. And if I'll make all the mothers, the most ethical mothers in the universe, will this child will become immediately smart? He said no. I said, so it's not the real reason, it's an excuse.
Right.
So the actual reason is different, and I will not get into that specific thing here right now, but there is an actual way to make any person learn. To cut a long story short, what I've done, I went to the University of Haifa. It's one of the biggest universities in Israel, and with a doctor that called Ofra Stein, and I said, look, I'm going to get all this school and get all of them to have at least 86% in the exams. And I wanted to do it in few months. And she looked at me and she said, are you crazy? And I said, no, I'm effective. Anyway, to what we've done, we took this school, and in 3 months, I got everyone, not one child that failing, and more than 80% of the kids got above 86% in the exams without any special teaching styles or anything, because what works for one kid will work for everyone if you know the actual reason why they do not succeed.
That's amazing.
And this is backed by an actual study, not something that I just say.
That's
And
amazing.
we went there. Yeah. So when you know the reason why, when you have a problem and the problem doesn't get resolved, or when you have a problem and things get complicated, you need to know that you're solving the wrong problem.
Right. Exactly. Well, Meir, you say that money without spirituality isn't true success, and spirituality without money isn't true success either. For someone who has been taught that wanting money is unspiritual or egoic, what is the deepest misunderstanding they have about money, and how do you invite them to rewrite that belief in a practical, real-world way?
Okay. So, like in the physical universe, energy moves things. Energy causes things to happen. In the spiritual world, or in the spiritual universe, ideas push things into happening.
Right.
So if you will look, you will see that anything around you, any physical thing, used to be an idea. It's quite fascinating. But if you will look around you, everything around you used to be an idea. Someone came up with an idea. Let's do that, even if that someone was God.
Right.
But everything around you used to be an idea. Okay? So what is money? Money is a manifestation of the spirit. What do I mean? Money is an idea backed by confidence. If I come up with an idea that you need a cell phone, and I create the confidence in you that you really need it, you'll buy it.
Right.
So if you really understand that how much money you have is totally a manifestation of your spiritual condition, which means how many ideas you can create and how certain you are about them. Your certainty of your ideas translates to money in the physical universe. Why did I make so much money? So when I started my business, I came to South Africa, and I saw that they have a problem with fuel fraud. The oil company, the oil companies that sell fuel had a problem that the transport companies, the companies that have the trucks, lost a lot of money. 36% was stolen by the drivers.
Wow.
So it's a lot. It's like
That's a lot.
You cannot make profit. Yes, you cannot make profit, and there was a lot of problems around it. So, so in Israel there was a system that was designed to handle that specific problem. And I came to the oil companies, and I said, look, in Israel there is a system that can handle that problem. And they told me, there was 2 companies before you here with systems from Israel that you're talking about, and they've been here for 7 years, and they're bought out of business. They went bankrupt. They invested millions of dollars, and they're bankrupt. And you don't have money. You don't actually even know English. You have long hairs. You have earrings, and you want to sell us this system? I said yes. And 3 months later, they purchased for me for $100 million.
Wow.
Why? Because I had an idea of how it can be implemented, and I had unshakable certainty that they need it, that it's going to help, and that it will bring a lot of help to a lot of people. And regardless of what's happened in the past, I made it go right, and they purchased from me. And why is it? Is because of this certainty. And certainty is not physical. Ideas are not physical. You need to be in a good condition. What does it mean in a good condition? A bad condition is when your attention is stuck in the past. Most people think that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I say that's bullshit. That's the definition of tenacity, regardless of who said that. If you will look, you'll see that's the definition of tenacity. Insanity, I say, is attention stuck in the past. You drive forward and you look backward. That's insanity.
I agree.
So when a person is certain, for him, there is no past.
He's just looking forward.
Yeah. There's only a mountain, there's a result. He knows what he needs to do, and he can make himself and others fall in love with what needs to be done. And that happens only by this certainty. So you have an idea, and you have this unshakable certainty. And that unshakable certainty brings the result. Now, the question, of course, is how do you get to a point where you have unshakable certainty? And that is done by removing your past and realizing that you, this thing that called the spirit, has nothing to do with energy. It's actually creating energy. has nothing to do with problems. It's actually creating problems, so it has some interest, so it's not boring. And it's so powerful that nothing can stop it.
That is very, very interesting and such an amazing way of looking at that. And I think a lot of people needed to hear exactly that message.
Yeah.
Now,
And when you're in that condition, you will realize that you don't need to have in order to do.
right.
Most people say, if I had money, if I didn't have money, I really didn't, and I couldn't speak English.
Right.
If I wanted to read the menu, I had my wife to translate it for me.
You found a way.
But I found
You found a way.
way.
Exactly. When you really want something, that's anything in life, you find a way. Absolutely.
Exactly. You make it go right. You don't do what you can.
And you don't make
You
excuses.
do what it takes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Now, you often talk about simple answers to life's most difficult questions. If you had to choose one difficult question that humanity keeps getting wrong in relationships, business, or purpose, what is that question, and what is the simple truth most people are unwilling or afraid to see?
Okay. So all the questions that anyone have, if you have a question, if you have a difficulty, there's only one basic reason why you have that problem or question. Now, the answer is so simple that it's probably the most difficult thing to explain because it's so simple. Yes. I'm teaching a lot of things. I'm teaching a lot of people a lot of things. And that concept is the most difficult, most simple. It's like nothing. You hear it, you say, okay, fine. Why do you even explain it? But no one actually gets the depth of that. And it takes years until people get, that's what it is. And I will explain it through a process. So if I want to give you any kind of a concept, what I do, I communicate to you by number of sentences. So if you understood all the sentences, you'll understand the concept that I'm trying to communicate. It's true to books, it's true to verbal communication, it's true for music. Everything is composed of sentences. And assuming that the sentences are correct, if you didn't understand what I'm saying, it's only because you did not understand one or more sentences. It has nothing to do with your IQ or with your abilities or anything. It's just one or more sentences that that you did not understand. Very, very simple. So far, so good?
Yes.
Now, a sentence, what is composed of? A sentence is composed only. There's nothing. If you take a microscope, you will not find in a sentence anything else other than words and symbols.
Correct.
Which means that the only reason you will not understand a sentence is because you do not fully understand a word or a symbol. So if you understood all the words and symbols, you will understand all the sentences. And if you'll understand the sentences, you'll understand the concepts. And you will actually you will gain understanding. And my definition of the word understanding is the sum of all the words and symbols that you have the correct definition for. And I'll give you a few examples, and you will see what I mean.
Perfect.
I say that the correct definition of a word will solve all the problems related to that word. And if the definition don't solve the problem, it means that the definition is incorrect. So for example, if I ask people, what does it mean fear? They give all kind of answers. But if you look at that definition that you give, do they actually solve the problem? So if I look at a very popular definition, false evidence appearing real, okay, so what do I do? How do I solve the problem now? I'm afraid. How do I make the evidence not false? And how come evidence can be false? I thought that by definition, evidence is something that is not false. It's evidence is something that can be proven, so it cannot be evidence, yes?
Correct.
So the definition itself do not make sense. But let's look at the actual definition, or what I consider is the definition, because it solves all the problems with fear. I say that fear is a manifestation of imperception, an unwillingness to communicate, which means anything that you're afraid of actually do not exist, and the handling is by restoring communication.
That makes sense.
If you will be actually willing to communicate with what you're afraid of, you will see there was nothing really to be afraid of. And this is really what science did to superstition. The purpose of science was actually the elimination of superstition. And how science eliminates superstition? By willing to communicate, by looking, by saying, of course I can understand.
Right.
Or if you look at the word child, if you understand that the definition of the word child is a person, it's a being like me and you, with a small body, but always with good intentions and often with bad results, you'll see that the handling of all children will be only based on their intentions and never, never, never based on the result. I'll give you a very cute story with my son.
Okay.
And based on that definition and how do I solve a problem. So my daughter was about, I don't know, maybe 5 years old, and my son was about 3 years old, and my daughter have curly hair. And I arrive home, and there is everyone is crying. Neo, my son, is pulling my daughter's hair, and there is a massive fight, and my wife says, they are your children, and she left. I don't know to where. And I said, okay, fine. So I got both of them to come down, and I went to my daughter and said, what's happening? And she said, Neo is mean to me. He's pulling my hair. He's mean to me. He wants to hurt me. And I went to Neo and I said, what's happened? And he says, my daughter, Hadar, is mean to me. She is mean to me. I said, okay, fine, not a problem. Neo, how do you want to help her? What is your good intention? So he looked at me like I'm an alien. And he said, oh, what do you mean? Don't you understand? I said, no. How do you help her? He said, well, I mean, it's obvious. He's telling me it's obvious. I said, no, it's really not obvious to me. Please explain. So he's like reluctantly says, fine, I'll explain to you. She have curly hair. I said, yes. And he says, and she always trying to iron the hair, to straighten it. I say, yes. So I'm helping her.
He's trying to pull it straight.
Exactly. From his viewpoint, he's helping her, and he doesn't get what's the big fuss, why she's not thanking him. She's mean to him. I understood that he has a good intention. I didn't know what.
Right.
But I insisted to find the good intention. And once I found the good intention, it was very easy to handle, because now I just had to call Hadar to the room. I asked her if I can cut a small piece of the hair, and I showed him that pulling it will not help. And I explained to him that you can straighten the hair either by iron or chemicals or a certain way of drying the hair, blah, blah, blah. Showed him. He understood. He said, wow, I didn't know, Hadar, I'm sorry. I was trying to help you. I'm sorry. She understood that he was trying to help her. Everyone happy. Never happened again.
That's an adorable story.
Yeah.
Especially coming from someone who has curly hair.
It was crazy, because he was really, I couldn't imagine that. But when I asked him, how do you try to help her? He really looked at me like I'm so stupid.
Because
Like,
it made sense in his little head. Absolutely.
Yes. It makes so much sense.
It was so simple for him.
Yeah. So when you have the correct definition, everything becomes simple. Another story with him, also on the basic of understanding what's actually the definition. So when someone is critical towards someone else, it is only because he did something against them. So criticism, I say, is an indication of you committing a sin against someone else. So I have this thing, this is my definition. I said that criticism is explaining away the most obvious wrongness.
Okay.
So Neo come home. He was, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 by that time. And he has a friend, his name is Caden, and he is crying, and he's showing me that Caden hit him and he has this big bruise on his hand. And he's saying that Caden is bad and he wants me to go and kill him. And I need to go and hit him and I need to help him. And he's crying. Now I know the definition of criticism. I hear criticism. I know Neo did something against Caden. It's not Caden.
Right.
Although I see the bruising, the actual reason he's upset is because he did something against him. So I get him to relax. And I said, okay, go with him. So Neo, what did you do against Caden? And he's like, wow, big show. No, I didn't do anything. I said, okay, good. So what are you hiding from him? No, mommy, daddy's mean to me. And I continue 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes. I don't know how long. What did you do to him? What are you hiding from him? What did you do to him? What you're hiding from? I had 100% certainty on the definition. Few minutes later, it looks to me like a year, but it was probably 4 or 5 minutes. He says, I stole his sandwich. The crying finished. Everything calmed down.
The drama's done.
So, done. Because now we have truth. And I say, okay, good. What do you want to do about it? So I say, well, I'm going to give him my sandwich tomorrow. I will apologize. I'll give him toys, whatever he decided. I don't remember all the details. Okay, fine, wonderful. Let's see if Caden agree. So I called Caden's father and I explained to him what's going on. He thought also that I'm an alien. And I got Neo and Caden on the phone and I told them to talk and they talk and everything was good.
Right.
I went into my office. A few minutes later, Neo comes to me and he says, look, Dad, I want to go to play with Caden. I said, it's 8 p.m. at night. You need to shower and go bath, whatever, go to sleep. And he again started to cry. No, I want to go to him. 5 minutes ago, he wanted me to kill him. I want to go and play with him.
Now he wants to be BFFs.
So if you really know the definition, you gain control over the area. Because the word understanding, the definition of the word understanding is just the sum of all the definitions that you have all the words that you have the correct definition for. And most people don't know that they don't have the definition. If I say to someone spirit, they don't know the definition. If I say a frequency, people a lot speak about frequency and I ask them, what does it mean?
Yeah, most people get lost with that one.
They don't know.
Right.
Never mind. If I say define the word truth, lie, define the word force, define the word purpose versus goal versus aim. And they cannot. And there's not 2 words that are the same in the whole English dictionary.
Right.
Or any dictionary. And if you cannot define it, you cannot handle the area. And most people don't actually know the words. There was a study, I don't remember the name of the study, but I saw a study many years ago that they took 100 of the most successful CEOs in the world. And they said, look, if we look at them and figure out what's unique about them, we can create successful CEOs. And they looked and they couldn't find anything. Mm-hmm. One guy was obnoxious and another guy was very polite and each one was totally different personality. And they continued to look. They said, there must be something. And eventually they found something.
Confidence.
They found that those people had a vocabulary that was about 20% bigger than the average person in the street. Mm. And when they spoke in a vocabulary that was smaller in about 5 to 7% of the average person in the street.
Wow.
Which means they understood everything and they made sure that everyone else understand them.
That makes
And
sense.
yeah, and if you look, even if you're religious or not, in the Bible they say, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God. It is the Word that makes the difference. If you understand the words, you'll understand the sentence, you'll understand the concept, and you'll have the knowledge that will bring about the control. If you have knowledge on how to drive a car, you control the car, and if not, you have an accident.
Right.
If you have the knowledge of how to fix a computer, you'll have a working computer, and if not, you'll have a disaster. If you have a knowledge on how a child behaves and that it's all intention, you'll have a better child. If you have a knowledge about how your wife is behaving, that's a magician type of things, but that's different.
Well, Meir, let's talk about the Family Academy.
Yes.
It is about saving and rebuilding relationships of all kinds. Imagine one of my listeners is on the edge of losing a marriage, a child's trust, or a long-time friendship. Before they sign up for anything, what is the one conversation, action, or inner decision you would ask them to have in the next 24 hours that could begin to turn that relationship around?
Okay. So the word relationship, I define the word relationship as the quality or the cleanness of the connection.
Okay.
When two pieces of glasses are really clean, they will stick to each other, and they break the moment that there is dirt. So for two people to separate, for two people to not understand each other, they need to have a dirt in between them. And the dirt is in the form of a sin that you commit. A sin I define as something that you do to another that you wouldn't want someone else to do to you. So if someone wants to handle his relationship, I would suggest to him to contact me. But if not, the first thing that I will say is sit down and write, what did you do to the other side that you wouldn't want them to do to you? Or what are you hiding from the other side that you wouldn't want them to hide from you? And if you will sit down and write down, what did you do against that person? What did you do against similar people? What did you do that you are not willing to go to your child and tell him about? That you did it. If you write it down and write it down and write it down, all of a sudden you will realize that you commit sins in an effort to resolve problems, and that you are not as bad as you thought that you are, and so you don't have to disconnect from that other person. Because when someone disconnects from another person, regardless of what he's saying, he's trying to protect the other person from his own viciousness. So if I disconnect from you, regardless of what I'm saying, I'm trying to protect you from my bad behavior. And it sounds totally unreasonable and not logical, but one for one, when I sit with people and they do that, they realize that they find fault with other people because they have been in fault. It's never the other side. That's why I never say that someone need to ask for forgiveness, because the only person you need to forgive is yourself.
Always. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you host a podcast called The Truth About the Truth.
Yes.
If you could give the listeners one daily practice to live closer to truth in business, relationships, and with themselves, what would that practice look like step by step in a normal day?
Okay. So the first thing is I will have every day, first thing in the morning is define what is the target for today. What is the end result that I'm trying to achieve? 1, not 20.
Okay.
Just one. So if you have an end result, one end result per day, you'll see that immediately you will put your attention on it and it will grow. And then from that moment onward, let's say that my end result for today is to help 5 people. When someone asks me, how are you doing? I say 5 people helped. And he said, what do you want for breakfast? 5 people helped. What's your name? 5 people helped. Where are you going? To help 5 people. What do you feel? 5 people helped. That's the only thing that's on my mind.
Right.
And if you take this thing as a target and you really define one target per day and you achieve that target, you will see that very quickly you'll realize that you're going to be successful. Why? Because my definition of the word success is the sum of all validated improvements. It's not the quality of the improvement, but the number of the improvements.
Right.
So you have failure, and you tell to yourself, this is an improvement, and 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 this is an improvement. At one point, there will be so many improvements that you will realize, one second, I can.
Right.
So if you realize that your only problem in life is that you look at what's wrong and not at what's right, you'll realize that if you want to improve, all you need is to take something, one product, one end result, and achieve it. And then the next day, another one, and achieve it and achieve it and achieve it. And in the process, remember that while it is correct, it is true that machine you fix by finding what's wrong with them, people you fix by finding what's right with them.
Change your perspective.
Yes, you don't fix people by finding what's wrong with them. You have to find what's right with them. If you find what's wrong with them, you'll make them sick. And everyone tell you, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and why do you do that? And this. No. Find what's right with people in the direction of the product that you want to achieve.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Now, last question for you. You've helped business owners, families in crisis, addicts, and even criminals. From your perspective as a human behavior expert, what is the one pattern that you see over and over again that destroys relationships, businesses, and inner peace? And what is the very first step someone can take today to start breaking that pattern?
Okay, so what happened is that people commit sins and blame other people. So they blame, they're critical.
Right.
So I said that broken people are extremely upset that other people are broken. People are very critical. They find bad things about people. And the question is, why will a good person start to become or start to see so much bad? And the process is quite amazing. And it's connected to what we spoke about already. If you will look, you'll see that people are basically good. Mm-hmm. How do I know it? Because when you do something bad, you are hiding it. If you are basically bad, every time you'll do something bad, you'll go at least inside and you say, yes, I'm progressing.
Right.
But you're hiding it. You are your worst judge. You are the worst execution. You really very, very hard with yourself because you are good.
Right.
So why a person that is basically good has been created in the image of God, why will he do something bad? And I'll give you the process, and it gives also the handling, and it is like that.
Okay.
You go past a word or symbol you do not fully understand. That causes you to be confused because you don't understand the area. Let's say you didn't understand exactly how to drive the car. You're confused, and so unwittingly you have an accident. You committed a sin. Now, once you committed the sin, to be right, you commit more of those sins. Once you eat one piece of chocolate, you eat the whole fridge. So you will see that if you realize that all your problems start with misunderstood words. The one thing that I will change with everyone is ask yourself, can you explain this word to a 6 years old?
Right.
If you cannot, you don't know the word, and if the definition that you think you know do not solve all the problems related to the word, you are committing sins in that area. And every time you commit a sin, you make yourself smaller and smaller and smaller and less able.
Right. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the recovery, the removal of sins is a specific way how to remove these things. But the understanding of when you go past a misunderstood word, you will have a confusion. You will commit a sin. And once you commit a sin, because you are good to protect others, you will cut your power. Because you know that when you act, you're committing a sin, you're doing something bad.
Right.
It's really unbelievable.
And you make it very simple. Thank you so very much. Meir,
you're welcome. Thank you.
We've moved through some powerful territory today. From your journey of overcoming intense physical pain and limitations, to your building massive wealth with a spiritual backbone, to the real reasons why relationships fall apart and how we can begin to repair them starting today. Thank you so much for this conversation, for your willingness to tell the truth about everything, money, spirituality, relationships, responsibility, in such simple and just direct language. It is deeply refreshing and deeply needed. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you for listening, for whoever is listening.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, take a moment and notice what landed most deeply for you. Was it something Meir said about truth, about money, about spirituality, about that one pattern that you recognize in yourself today or your family? Whatever it was, don't just let this be another inspiring episode. Let it be a turning point in your life. Here's your invitation and your challenge. Choose one insight from this conversation and turn it into one action in the next 24 hours. Have the conversation, tell the truth, start the healing, take the step in your business. That's how you awaken your authentic self, not in theory, but in your actual life. Beloveds, if this episode spoke to you, here's how you can support this work and make sure you don't miss what's coming next. Hit subscribe and be notified of new episodes. If you're following the show, leave a rating and a written review because it truly does help this message reach more souls who need it. Share the episode with one friend or family member who came to mind while you were listening. And if you want to go deeper with Meir's work, check out the links in the description to learn more about his teachings and the Family Academy. Thank you for being here, for doing this inner work, and for choosing to awaken your authentic self one conversation at a time. I'm Jessica Rooks, and I will see you in the next episode. And until then, stay true, stay awake, and stay connected to who you really are.